Hi, everybody. Good evening.
Hello.
Hello.
Hey. You get moved in, Brian?
I moved. I don't know if that counts, but now there's the whole
You're out
process
of your
of
other home.
now there's the whole process of moving in. If you know what I mean.
Oh, I know what you mean.
Everything is everywhere at this point until I actually get moved in.
Well,
We
I don't
came
know
back
how-
from Iowa, what, 8 years ago? And there are still things in boxes.
Well, I discovered as I was cleaning my house out and moving that I moved into that house in 2007 with the intentions of staying 6 months. I obviously missed that. And as I was throwing stuff away, there was still stuff that was boxed from when I moved into the place.
Yeah.
I picked those boxes up, I took them downstairs and threw them in a dumpster. I don't know what was in them, but I threw them away.
Oh my gosh.
Oh,
Because I would assume that between 2007 and now, if I needed it, I would have found it.
Well, we moved here in this house in 2012, and we still have boxes we have to go through. I'm like Beth. That's just cold.
What's
Can't
cold?
wait till this. My house is cold. My hands
Okay.
are freezing. I got a cover on. I'm getting ready to get my jacket on. Can't wait till this warm weather comes. Boy, everybody's so quiet.
don't get me started.
Well, I still can't get this keypad to work with the light. I've done everything.
You can't get what to work?
The keypad is supposed to light up, and I've
Oh.
tried everything. I have worked hours on it, and I just can't do it.
Well, I'll tell you this. I found that computer as I was cleaning, so when I get a chance, I'll take a look at it and see what else I can remember about it.
Boy, I'd appreciate it. Because I've Googled it, I have YouTubed it, I have done what you said to do, which does not, nope. I need to just wait until the next talk about and bring it along and throw it at DL and tell him to fix it unless Brian's there. Both of you can fix it. There's nothing
You
worse
tell me
than
to
not.
fix it, but I'm just going to tell you to call the manufacturer.
Oh, now hush, DL. I'm
That's
your
what they have
friend.
technical
You
support
know I
for.
care for you a lot. So fix it. Yeah.
I have some dynamite in my trunk.
Yeah. Put it over the car.
We're not going to go there, huh?
I'm looking for something currently right now, guys. So just bear with me for a minute.
We'll try.
That was not.
How
what
was
I-
everybody's Easter?
Good.
I spent the majority of mine picking stuff up and carrying it.
Hey, DL, while Brian's looking for what he's looking for, I see you have your art all night photo up. Do you want to maybe describe what that's all about and how people can participate in it?
Well, it's kind of hard to describe. We have a little bit of everything going on there. There's bands playing on a couple stages. We have sculptures, we have paintings, all types of art, photographs, dancers. Yeah, everything going on. It's a 22-hour art show. We literally go all night. Registration starts at 10 o'clock and registration closes at 2 o'clock for dropping off stuff for the show. And we open up again at 4 o'clock and we run until 2 p.m. the next day.
Wow. Do you get to see any of the artwork online?
There's talk of doing that. I don't know how much of it's going to make it online.
That's an awful lot to try to photograph
It
and
really depends on
up.
if the artists photograph their stuff and send it to us ahead of time. We can get that stuff done. Stuff coming through the line, we can't do that. We just don't have.
Yeah.
Some of it will be online, but not all. My
Well, I was
video
hoping
lounge
people-
will be primarily online. I'm pretty sure I'm going to get everything online for video lounge. That's again, it's a wait and see.
so what are the dates for everybody?
We open
Hasn't
up on the
seen
29th. Wait, let me look at my calendar here. As it's the last weekend in April. So that would be, we open on the 29th, we close on the 30th. It's at 31st Street Studios.
Who is we?
Art all night. It's a group of crazy people who like to run themselves ragged putting together art shows.
In DL, if someone wants to have a piece of art hung, there's no fee. You just sign up online ahead of time and
Yep.
take it to the studio.
Yep.
If you
I'm
guys have
about to
never
drop a
been to that,
link.
so if you
I'm
guys
gonna
have
drop a
never been
link
to
in,
Art All
in
Night,
the chat.
Okay. Thank you, DL.
if you
Can
guys
I
have,
pass a note? Oh, I'm sorry, Brian. I
That's
want to
okay.
pass a note. I want to pass a note to Jim Murray for just a second. All the work is out of the Hannistown purview now. I went over to the education center and I picked up the last two pieces. Okay.
Oh, that's good to know.
That's it.
Thanks, Rex.
Okay.
no, what I was going to say is if you've never been to Art All Night, you need to go. It is very interesting. There's a lot going on, and it's really, really a cool. I don't know how else to say it. It's really interesting. It's well worth going to see. Just put it that way.
On the front
Okay.
page, if you scroll down on the Art All Night website, there's a video there. That was taken at the 2019 show. It's going to be in the same place. So I'll give you an idea of what it's like to walk around 65,000 square feet of all kinds of art.
Is it all for sale or just most of it or what?
Everything has a tag on it. Anything that's for sale, it'll have, it'll say it's for sale. It might say a price. It might say bid. We take all that information and we send that to the artist. So it's a negotiation between you and the artist.
Oh, okay.
No saying what the price is, or we don't collect money.
Sounds like a photo op all its own.
Yeah.
It is. I expect about 600 to 700 shots.
Oh, wow.
All right, I sort of found what I was looking for. It's not exactly it, but whatever. It is what it is. There's got someone else joining in there. All right, guys. like I said, go check out Art All Night. It's really cool, and you can stop at anytime during the night, as it says, all night. It's pretty cool. I've been to it a couple times. It's well worth going to. All right. Talk my tablet into opening up again. All
You
right.
at work?
Yeah. I'm
Are you
work.
at work?
Of course. Where else would I be? I won't even get into the battle with the cable company trying to get the internet changed from one house to another. I've been working on that for 4 weeks now,
Oh my.
and I haven't got it done yet. And we won't talk about transferring car information and all that other crap. So anyhow, okay. Let's see. New business. The only thing that I really had was that something was mentioned to me, and I thought I would bring it up to you all. We have scheduled for our April photo walk, which I'm trying to find. There it is. A Somerset Urban Walk, which is April 23rd. Someone mentioned to me that on that same day, April 23rd, is another photo day at the Crescent State Prison. And I know some of y'all went, and I know most of you complained that it was too cold and you froze your fingers off. And I wanted to put it up to you guys to see if you would be interested in switching the walk for the April 23rd in Somerset for another trip to the Crescent State Prison. And it'll be, it's just kind of up to you guys what you want to do. I mean, either way, I'm going to end up back at Crescent State Prison somehow, because I didn't get to go, and I'm still upset about that. Although I did pretty good where I went, but anyhow, I wanted to see what you guys thought about that. If you wanted to do that, or if you'd rather just go to Somerset and go for a walk.
Well, if we can get 6 people to go, we can get a group rate, and we'd already talked about Beth and a couple of us going again anyway, so I'd be down for that. Especially if we
Same.
get a group rate, may as well. As long as it's not 17 degrees again, we're good.
Yeah,
That was awful.
When you went
All right,
last time, how many non-WPS photo photographers did you have? Was it busy?
there were other people around, but not that many.
Mhm.
And the place is huge. You can
Mhm.
easily, like, all of us, like every dues paid member could show up there, and they could all still be wandering around, and you might not see them all.
Wow.
Yeah.
I mean, there's plenty of space.
Mhm.
Yeah, I was going to say that I wasn't there, of course, but it looks to me that the pure size of the place is big enough to where it don't matter really how many people are there. You're going to have plenty of
Yeah.
time with nobody in your way.
Mhm.
Yep.
So I'm leaving it up to you guys. It's kind of a vote for you guys. Express your opinions and then we'll vote.
I'm indifferent, Brian, be honest, although it was really interesting, I probably wouldn't go back a second time this soon. So I'd probably just
Okay.
file out. That's just don't worry about that.
Well, I want everyone's opinion on it. Then we can kind of decide what to do.
I'd be definitely interested in going again, but I wouldn't be able to go on the 23rd of this month.
Okay.
Okay.
So the 23rd would be out for you, Jim, no matter what we did then, right?
Correct. Yeah, I have tickets to the Pirate game that day.
Oh, okay. Anybody else want to speak up or say anything?
Well, I'm going to be out from the 16th till the 1st of May. That's the 2nd of May. 2 weeks will be
Okay.
out away.
All right, of you guys that are on here, how many humans we're looking forward to going for a walk through Somerset?
Indifferent towards it.
Yeah.
I'm busy either way.
I was gonna go to Somerset.
Okay. So
I'm planning on
I
going
got,
to Somerset.
you were planning on going?
Yes.
Okay. So I got
I
two
have
people that
a
want to
friend
go.
out that way, so I would have gone that Somerset either way. I have a friend out that way, so.
All right.
The
Well,
May
what do you
one,
guys-
well, if we can get somebody to be the point person and talk to the people from Crescent, we might be able to pick our own date as a group thing. But their May one, I want to say is the 19th. I of course wrote everything down from their schedule and it's on my desk and I'm sitting in my car in a parking lot outside karate. So I don't know what the date was for May,
How many of
but
you
I know
guys
May
watched
starts
that?
getting into,
How
Go
many
ahead,
of you guys
Brian.
watched that? How many of you guys watched that video that was posted about the sanatorium part of Crescent?
It was cool.
That was really
I-
interesting.
Mhm.
I like sat here and I throwed people out of my office while I watched that. I thought that was really, really interesting.
Mhm.
Well, Brian, as far as videos go, not the one that Jim had posted. I just happened on YouTube, came across, there was someone had toured the prison facility back, I'm going to say within the last 2 years or so. And I didn't really think about this when we were there, but it's amazing how quickly that place deteriorated from the paint standpoint. I mean, there literally every place I was, there was peeling paint. And yet, when you think about it, the prison actually stopped operation like in 2012 or something. And so this video was just kind of commenting, geez, it's hard to believe how fast it deteriorated.
Yeah.
Mm.
Well, I just looked at our calendar. We have a picnic scheduled for May 6th, I believe it is, from what I was looking at, if I read that correctly. Or that would, yeah, Saturday, May 6th is I'm sorry, not a picnic. Saturday, May 6th is our walk, which is Hospitality Springs Farm. And then we have a picnic scheduled for Saturday, May 20th. The two dates for Crescent in May are the 27th and the 28th for weekends. So the 28th would not
Memorial
bother
Day.
any of our regular stuff. We could just add that on as a date for May,
Yeah, it's
and that would
Memorial
give some
weekend.
people some more time maybe to schedule it. Does that work for you guys? And then that way we don't have to change the
It'd be nice
Somerset
to
walk.
have it be a little warmer.
So, and there's a good chance May will be a little bit warmer than April, I would say.
Yeah, a little bit,
Or
some chance.
Let me see, they have some time in June. It kind of looks to me like they do, there is a couple there's only 2 in July. And they don't have anything in August at this point.
Yeah, you know what, Brian, looking at the schedule, it looks like it ends in July.
Yeah,
Because there are no scheduled dates after July.
that's what I was just looking at, yeah.
Yeah, that's it. July's the last, month.
All right, well, let's do this. Let's leave the Somerset walk alone. We'll have the Somerset walk. We won't change that. We had a couple people that are interested in doing that. Let's do that. We had it scheduled and they planned that. We'll add in a trip to Crescent on one of them other dates. We'll get together and kind of talk about that and decide which date we want to go. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Does that work for you guys?
Mhm.
All right, we'll leave that alone.
Yep.
Okay. And if we can get enough people together, we'll do the group thing. If not, there'll be a few of us going. But whichever, as long as it's a Sunday or a Wednesday, I'm going to the next one. I promise you that. Okay, so that takes care of that. I did want to mention that we have 44 members that have paid their dues at this point. So thank you to all of those members. Thank you to Marty, and I believe Carl was helping. Those of you that were helping kind of push people to pay their dues, thank you. I will say that we had, what do we have, about eight or nine people, Marty, at the meeting on Tuesday or Thursday night for the Lightroom class? Mark?
I think we can.
It's a good group.
Yeah, it was okay.
Right,
We had
you're-
a 1, 2, 3, 4.
I think we had 10. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I think we did have 10. Yeah.
Okay.
Brian, more importantly, how many non-members showed up?
2, I believe. 2 were people that was the first time, I believe.
Okay, well, that's good. That's better than none.
Yep. But I'll take members too. It don't matter. Either way is good with me. So that's working out. That'll be okay. We did have it. Ended up having it at IHOP. Worked out well. I got to eat eventually after they brought everything cold for me to eat. They brought everyone's food but mine to that night. And I finally had to ask, and I'm like, can I get the food that I ordered, or am I just not getting any tonight? So, that's what I wanted to bring up about that. So let me see here.
Yeah, the service isn't that great there.
No, the service isn't great, but the room worked out pretty good. Other than it was a little chilly, but we dealt with that.
Yeah, they say a general never eats until his troops do.
Yeah. Well, they all ate before me, so if I was the general that night, I'm not sure. Anyhow, so that worked out pretty good. And anything else that I have? Just a quick reminder that next month's meeting, which is the May meeting, is not a Zoom meeting. We are meeting in person. And I believe we're having that meeting at Marty's place, if I remember correctly. Is that true? Marty said she don't know and she's muted. She's not talking either.
Sure.
Well, it's the night where we were talking about lighting. And it has me, you, and Carl. So
Yeah.
I'm assuming that was at your place.
Yes, okay.
Okay.
May meeting at Marty's.
Yes. So just as a let you know, that's where the meeting's going to be. It's going to be at Marty's place. She'll put information about how to find the place and that kind of stuff. So, and I think that's all I had as far as new business. Did someone want to give a quick recap of the show and the night at the show? We didn't do that yet, did we? No, we haven't talked about that at a meeting.
It was a good turnout. We had a nice opening. A lot of people were there. I don't even do a count, sorry. But I think it turned out really nice. I haven't heard if anybody sold anything yet, so fingers crossed. Rebecca won People's Choice Award. It was awesome. And everybody likes Sane's wine.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yep.
it was a win-win for everybody. Thank you, everyone, for submitting work and being there. Sorry, I have competition in the background. Sorry.
That's okay.
Marty, just to thank you for putting it all together and for the nice arrangements. It was fantastic. Nice job. Well done.
Thank
Yep.
you.
Yeah, very good. It was good. I made it down. I didn't think I was going to, but made some arrangements and ended up there. So I was glad to be there and get to see it. So thank you. Marty, you did a great job. And I will tell you this, that voting for the People's Choice Award was not easy. There's a
No,
lot of really good stuff on the walls there.
Yeah, it was
You know, so
difficult.
yeah, it was not an easy pick. So Rebecca, congratulations. I mean, that was pretty good because there was some really good stuff you were up against there as far as the People's Choice Award goes, and good job.
Thanks.
Yep.
And it's a shame that the picture that Rebecca took cannot be duplicated because the building's gone.
Can't we go back? Wait, the
They're
building's gone.
I'm assuming, well, the building may be gone, but they redeveloped that whole area. That
Wow.
whole thing they redeveloped. So everything that we saw there is not there anymore.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that was your first outing with us, wasn't it, Rebecca?
Yeah, you messaged me on Facebook. You're like, hey, you should join us. And I was like, okay. And then, you know, here I am. So well, thanks for that.
Yep. Hey, anytime. You're welcome.
It's a
All
bummer
right.
you can't go back to that place. I was hoping to revisit.
Yep. Yeah, the place that she took the picture at was up in Johnstown. And we had done a pretty big outing there. We had
Yeah.
I think we had somewhere upwards of like 50 people that went to that outing. But we promoted the heck out of it and sold tickets actually for it. Is how we did that one. So it worked out really good.
Brian,
All
that
right.
was the Cambria Ironworks in Johnstown.
That's the name of it. Yeah, Cambria. I was floating around that hoping someone would say that.
Yeah. And when we were there, I remember whoever we were talking to, I'm going to call it the Johnstown Redevelopment Authority. I don't know what their official name is, but that's in fact what they were doing. They were trying to get tenants and new owners for that entire site. And apparently they were pretty successful over the years.
Yeah. Yep. They had brought some pretty cool events there while they were doing that. And one of the events they had was they had an orchestra come in and set up and play in the one big building that they had there.
Johnstown
Which I think
Symphony.
would have been really cool to listen to in that big metal building. I thought that would have been pretty neat to see. But anyhow, all right, that is all I have for new and old business. I will see if anyone else has anything they want to bring up. Margie,
I got a couple.
go right ahead, Jim.
Well, let's see. First off, Brian, I'll go ahead for the Somerset walk and put out the constant contact notice like a week or so before the outing.
Okay.
And so, and this is very, yeah. So we're going to have an officers meeting at the conclusion of this meeting, just as a reminder. So if you're an officer, don't hang up at 9 o'clock. And the other thing I thought was worth mentioning is, and Tom Long kind of got things kicked off on Reddit back within the last week. The Westmoreland Art Nationals notified the artist who had accepted works for the show at the community college and the show at the Arts and Heritage Festival. And it was amazing, kind of one by one. There must have been at least a half a dozen members or so who at least responded after the fact and mentioned that they also had artwork accepted for either of those two shows or both shows. So that was kind of nice. And I know that Candy Kubenik had artwork accepted, although she did not post anything on Reddit. So it was the people on Reddit and at least one other. So that was good to see.
Nice.
Yes, it was. And there was quite a few people. So for those of you, congratulations. It was nice to see that. And I really liked seeing them posted on air. And now Marty can get them and put them in the newsletter under the members in the news section or whatever it's called. And her newsletter will now be 90 pages long. We're headed for, we're looking for 100 pages eventually there, Marty. But no, congratulations to everyone that got into the art nationals. So really good. And it was nice to see that many of our members getting into that particular show. So
There were-
good, big deal, good deal.
There were really some really fantastic pictures there, but I do have a question for Jim Mahan. Are you there?
Yeah, Margie, I'm here.
Where did you take that foggy picture?
That actually wasn't too far from my house. It was kind of between, I don't know how much you guys know Allegheny County, but it was kind of, there's a back way to Oakmont from Plum, and it kind of sits, oh gosh, what is that? The river runs through there. I'm trying to think of the name of the town that was over. But the fog was in the river valley, and then that house was kind of either in Oakmont or Plum. I'm not sure exactly where the line is, but that was just somebody's house that was right off the road. It's hard to believe it was taken in Allegheny County because it looks like it was taken far away.
Yeah, it looks like something from Ireland or Scotland, in that area. So I was
Yeah.
very interested in, if it was in our area, because it's a beautiful, beautiful picture. I really like it.
Well, thank you. I
Oh.
appreciate that. Nope,
Thank you.
Allegheny County.
Wow. We got to explore a little bit more about this Allegheny County.
Yeah, come on up. Come on up to my area. Come on.
Yeah, really.
Did
Well,
anybody else send images to that Donald Robinson biennial one that was also in the newsletter? Or was I the only one? Nobody else mentioned it. Okay. So one of mine got into there too, but
Well, they've
just wonder if
announced
anybody else
those.
did.
Oh, congratulations, Rebecca.
Really.
Congratulations,
Congrats.
and post it on Reddit so that Marty can pick it up for the newsletter.
Oh, it's the trolley one that I posted for the other show. It's the same one.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Sure, double dipping, huh?
Yeah, you may as well.
Yep.
At least let
All
Marty know what it is.
Yeah, what show? Yeah, just let me know what show and stuff, so I can give you a double dip page on the newsletter.
Hey, Rebecca.
Yeah. Yes, Jim.
You might be in trouble.
Why?
So that Altoona show, that's part of the Southern Alleghenies Museum, right?
Yeah, I think.
So I
Yeah.
could be wrong, but it seems to me they have a
Yeah.
requirement that if you have something in their show, it not be showing anywhere else.
Really?
Yeah, and now hope, Altoona is far enough away from Greensbury that maybe it won't be an issue for you. And I could be wrong with Sama, but something about
Okay.
my mind is telling me they don't want anything that's been shown
At
previously.
another jury show. You're right.
Okay. I'll double check the email. There's nothing in the exception, the email that says that.
Yeah, it's in the
I'll
entrance.
double check.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hopefully you don't get in trouble.
Yeah.
If not, that's okay. Saves me a trip to Altoona.
All right. Jim, was that all you had?
It is, yes, thank you.
Okay. Anybody else have anything? Rob, are you about ready?
Little
Oh, wait a minute.
different. I was just saying, Rebecca, crop it just a little bit different, and then it's a different picture.
I'll make it the panorama like you guys suggested. But I just ordered a framed version of it, so.
Yeah, I wanted to ask a question to Marty. When you have the next formal WPS at your place, are you going to have all of the lighting that you want? Because I have a whole studio of different kinds of lighting if you need some of it or anything like that. But if you have everything you need, you're good to go.
I just bought some. I haven't really used it yet, so I may hit you up. I don't know.
Okay, well, just let me know.
But you're leaving when?
Oh, well, we're leaving this coming Saturday. We'll be out of the country until May 2nd. We leave Las
Oh,
Vegas.
okay.
We leave Los Angeles on Spirit on May 1st, but it's an overnight flight, so we don't get back to Pittsburgh until May 2nd in the morning. And
Oh, okay.
so there'll be plenty of time before
Right.
that to recover.
Where are you going, Rex?
Yeah.
Well, we're going to go down. We're going to fly down to Miami. Then we're going to go to a stop in Colombia and one other place, and then down the Panama Canal on a cruise ship, and then out through the Panama Canal, out the other side, Cabo San Lucas or whatever it's called, and a couple other places, and then terminate in Los Angeles, and then fly back from there to Pittsburgh and home.
Wow, great
And
trip.
we get home on the 2nd. So there'll be plenty of time to participate.
You have to tell me about it. The Panama Canal cruise is on my bucket list, so
Okay.
that's going to be the next trip for us, I think.
All right.
And,
I'll have some pictures.
and Rex, I was going to ask you too, do you have any backgrounds up for sale?
I don't have them for sale, but you can use them anytime you want for as long as you want. You
Oh,
want to come see them, I'll put them up. I have poles, cross pieces, whatever you need.
Well, I picked up the pose and stuff. I was just looking at the backgrounds that I might need.
Okay.
I'll get with you.
Okay. All right.
Okay, thank you, Rex.
Sure.
All right. Okay, anything else? Rob, are you ready, or do you want us to do a little critiquing? Because we like to add a
No,
few minutes
I'm
of
ready.
critiquing. You're ready?
I'm
Rob?
ready.
You're in charge. Have at it.
Okay. Okay, can everybody see my screen?
Yep.
Yep. I'm going to step out for a few minutes, guys. I got to go lock the building and stuff, so I'll be back in a few minutes.
Okay. Okay, well, here's what I'm going to talk about tonight. I'm going to start with a little review of my filing system. If you remember in our last SWIG meeting, didn't quite get to me as we talked about other people's procedures. I think mine's a little different, so maybe hopefully you'll find it interesting. The second one is I've got a little sky selection refinement technique I use in Lightroom. Some of you may already use it, but I think it's something that's worth showing. It certainly doesn't take long. It's very easy to do. So I'll walk through that very quickly. And then I've got about an 8-minute video on customizing the buttons on my Canon mirrorless camera. The reason I like this video is the woman talks about how to use the buttons, but more importantly, she talks about the differences between the focus where you can set the point focus, and then you can use the special focus that works for tracking eyes of either animals or people, that kind of thing. And also she talks about using the servo motor focus versus the other. I think it's really a good way to look at it. And quite frankly, I like the way the buttons are customized, and hopefully it's something analogous on the Nikon for Nikon users. But the reason I like it is I've always found myself fumbling through the menus to change the focus. With the buttons there, it makes it so much easier. And then finally, the real reason I'm talking tonight is the photographer spotlight, which was on the agenda. And what the photographer I picked is Annie Leibovitz. And I've got a few slides to talk about her, and then some videos and some pictures. So I think hopefully you'll find it entertaining. So with that, let's get started. My filing system, first of all, I don't want to take credit for a sole process that's built from the ground up. I stole a lot of good thoughts from Jim Murphy's file naming that he talked about when he did this. The Scott Kelby general organization technique, which actually is something that Brian presented to the group during the pandemic. Scott Kelby had opened up his website for free for a while, and I went in and looked at it and decided to actually do a good bit of it on my pictures. And then finally, I used some of Brian's workflow that he talked about when he did his files, and then Rex's color coding, which is something I've adopted too. So I don't want to take credit for originality, but I do take credit for understanding and utilizing good ideas when I hear them. So my system is one where I use collections all the time and collection sets. That's all I use. I organize the pictures by type of picture, not date. Most people use date. I had it by date and I switched it. The reason I did it was by putting them in by type of picture. In other words, if they're architecture, friends of family, photo shoots, that kind of thing, then you kind of preclude the need for keywords because you can go into the files that way. My ability to be disciplined to put keywords in repeatedly is horrible. I use different words, different spellings. I could never pull the photos out. And when I did do it, I wasn't sure if I had the right photos or not. So that's one of the reasons I went to this, so I could find photos in groups. And, even though I can remember a lot of things by date, I know that I can go into Lightroom and it's easy to do the sorts in the library function to kind of pull stuff out by date if necessary. So that's one part. The other part is, why do I use collections? The reason I use collections is it's easy to move photos from one collection to another. So you can have a photo in two collections without having two things on your hard drive, because all Lightroom does is write a note that this photo that's on your hard drive should be in these two collections. So that makes it very easy. The second thing is, when you have collections, that's the vehicle you use to sync up your Lightroom with your mobile Lightroom apps on your phone or your iPad. And I like to do that because I can show pictures on my iPad pretty easily, and I can go in and easily find them in the Lightroom by working through the collections. And if I want to, sync some of the collections or do something unique with them, I can use a smart collection, which, ask it to pull all 5 stars, that kind of thing. The issue with the smart collections, though, is a Lightroom thing that I think they should fix. You can't sync smart collections with Lightroom Mobile, which to me, I think is ludicrous. So I end up doing a smart collection, copying it into a regular collection so I can move it into Lightroom Mobile, which is kind of clunky, but that's the workaround. And another thing that's interesting about collections, if you take a photo in a collection and you delete it, it takes it out of the collection and it's gone, but it doesn't delete it from your hard drive. And that's a nice feature because there's a lot going on in Lightroom, and I've accidentally deleted pictures before and had to go back and pull them off a video card somewhere. But if you're in collections, that's not a problem. So my system is this. These are the broad categories I have: architecture, artistic photos, friends and family, landscapes, nature, scanned photos, just photos that pick, film pictures I've had over the years that I've scanned in, sports photography, travel, and then Westmoreland Photo Club photo shoots. So with that, let me go to Lightroom. Can you see my Lightroom now?
Yep.
Okay. So here we are in the collections, and I mentioned them so you can see all the setups here: architecture, artistic, and right down the line. And into I'll blow out the photo shoots ones. These are collection sets. You can't actually put a photo in a collection set, but you can put the individual. You can put a collection. Like for instance, this symbol here is a collection set, which means it's a series of collections. If I click on this, it will show all the photos that are in both of these two collections. But here's the actual one collection. So if you go down here, and I'll use this as an example, this is the photo shoot we did at West Overton Village a year and a half ago or so. And what I do in photos is when I get them, the first thing I do is I go through and I reject all the photos I don't like. I hit the X, and I'll show you on this picture. Simply hit the X on the keyboard and it says set as rejected. And once I do that, I reject all the photos, and then I actually go back, look at them a second time, and then I delete them. And remember, I'm just deleting them out of the collection, not off the hard drive. So what I'm doing is I'm decluttering my collection set to work on, but I'm not getting rid of the photo, which I think is a cool idea. And then from there, when I process a photo, I give it 2 stars, so I know it's processed. I give 5 stars to the one that I think are really good photos, or ones I really like and kind of want to show them to other people if I'm showing a couple of pictures of somebody. And then the ones that have no star are ones that haven't been processed. And then the 1-star ones are ones that are used for other pictures. Like if I use a photo stack, then all the ones that went into the photo stack are 1 star, or I guess like a focus stack. And the way I like this is because I can come in here and quickly filter these pictures. I can say, I can go in and take greater than 2 stars on this one, for example, and I can show all the pictures that I want to show that I think have been processed and I think are good. And if I want to show the ones I think are the cream of the crop, I just go up to 5 stars, and I've got 2 pictures there to show. Now, another thing I do is, and I'll use the Saturday at Marty's for this one. This is from a couple of weeks ago. Whoops. Clicking too much. On this one's interesting because this one has 5 pictures, and what you'll see is you see the different colors because they're different files. Like the purple one, for instance, that's a PNG file because I had the secondary processing when I took it out of Lightroom and went to other software. So it came back as a different file. That's why I like the color coding. But in this case, you'll see this is the name of the photo and it says 35 pics on it. And what that means is that's the stack, the photos I used to create the picture in the photo stack. And if I go in, and if you look here in the lower left-hand corner where my cursor is, you can see that I've got all these photos are together. So what I do is if I expand this, if I say stacking, unstack, you'll see all the photos I used in the photo stack right here. And they're all one star, like I mentioned. Then what I do is I put them all in one stack together. So I don't have all this clutter, but I can quickly get to any of these photos if I want to go back and look at which photo was used for which portion of the picture or redo it or something like that. But it's all there available to me. And I like that stacking feature in Lightroom because like I said, it's just way too many pictures here. And, you know, I find myself fumbling through them all. So that's my system. Any questions or comments?
Any system's a good system, Rob.
Yeah, I like mine because I like the fact it's broken up like this and I can find them. You know, that helps me find them better. And I'm not as disciplined as Rex to have a nice catalog of historical keywords. I just can't do that.
I would be curious, though, would you go up to one of your collections that is a more broader based of you? I'm just curious what it looks like, if you will.
What do you mean? Just
one of your go up to where your other collections are.
Like here?
Yeah, like landscapes. How do you differentiate within landscapes?
Well, I don't have a lot in landscapes, to be honest with you. I do
Okay, go pick another one then.
Just you can see what I have in there. I've got the Pittsburgh tour from 2021. I've got some stuff at Twin Lakes up there. When I just did Twin Lakes last fall, stuff like that. That's what's in there. My biggest one is either travel, which is all the trips I've taken over the years. You can see a lot in there. And each of those is by each trip, and then I have the year. And then another big one for me is friends and family. Where I've got it, sometimes get it by birthdays. This is one of my dogs, Bogey, and this is the relatives and different family members.
Okay, so the collection's obviously where it's well organized and it works for you.
Right.
Just out of curiosity, if you were to open up, explore your actual file folder, I'm curious, how do you have the photos stored in there at all?
They're stored very similar to what I have here. You mean my file hierarchy on the hard drive?
Yeah, I'm just curious what you do there.
They're pretty close. There's some changes because I'm not always consistent. Sometimes I get in the collections and I move stuff around, but by and large, you can find them there. And you can also go into the pictures too. I think you can just click on the picture and say, there's a function in one of these that says, here, go to folder in library. So you click on that, and it'll take you right to where it is in your library, which is nice. So even if I have something out of kilter on my hard drive versus what I have in collections, I can find it easily. And you can do the other one too. You can say, go to collections, and this will tell you all the collections that this photo's in one collection. That's it. But some photos there'll be two or three different collections, and you can find them all, which is nice. I find it a very good way to use the library function in Lightroom, which really I stumbled with for a long time. And I just started, hopefully with some of the tips I got from this group. And the Scott Kelby thing, I just start pulling it together and coming up with something that seems to work for me.
Rob, how about the years? I mean, you don't stratify by years, I see. It's just by category.
Yeah, I have the years. I have the years in the photo names. If you look here, the photo, it's all 2021, and that's the month. So I have the year dash month, and then where I took the picture. It's very similar to what Jim did. I think Jim has the date in his too, and maybe uses some underscores where I've got spaces, but it's the same type of organization as Jim did. So I can pull it up by year, and then I got the years listed in here, like you know, if we were to go back and do another Mill Creek Park one, then I have another, whatever year we went back, it'd be all under Mill Creek Park. But then I can go up into the general search functions up here into the meta files. I don't know how you get to that from here, but you can go in there and search by year and pull everything out.
Yeah, remember also it's going to show up in your metadata anyway. If you look over when you're in the library mode, if you go down into metadata, the day you took the shot will be there.
Right. And I'm not too worried about the day I took the shot. I want the year and the month. And I didn't put the day in because it makes the file name too long. And sometimes it pushes key information off the directory when I'm looking at. So that's why I did that. And like Rex said, it's easy to get to the date because it's in the metadata. And you can see what I have up there on the screen now, that the actual date's there at 6/27/20.
Well, even if you changed your way of identifying with the picture, it would always be there anyway.
Exactly.
It would be there.
Right. So. Any other questions? Okay, let's move on. If you remember a few weeks ago, Brian did a little section on the new masking techniques in Lightroom, talking about how good they were. And one of the pictures he used, he did a sky selection from a photo shoot we did probably 2 years ago now at Allegheny Cemetery. And in that picture, he selected the sky, and it did a good job, but he also showed that through some branches that were in the skyline, that it didn't do a very good job picking the sky in that area. And we can just duplicate that here. I picked another shot from that same photo shoot. So if you come up here and you select and you say, hey, pick the sky. Now it's going to do that. And what you'll see is it picked the sky here, but as you know, the sky becomes lighter as you come down towards the horizon. So in this case, it picked the sky down to here and did a good job selecting the sky in among the branches, but it didn't do anything in here. So if you want to select this area, one option is to go in and get a brush and paint it, but that is a tedious job. So what I found to do is just to come up here, and what I do is I add a color range. When I do that, it gives me the eyedropper. And what I do is I take a space that's representative of that whole color space I want, and I just kind of outline it. So a little square like that, let it go, and voila. Now I've got the rest of the blue filled in on the sky. And, you know, if we blow up enough, maybe it's not perfect everywhere, but it's pretty darn good. And it's a lot better than going through that with the brush. So I just wanted to share that with the group. That's something I did in the old Lightroom, and I finally figured out how to do it here with the addition and subtraction of masks here to get it to work in the new Lightroom. But I think it works very well. And then you can obviously come in and change the exposure, whatever you want to do here. So.
Rob, did you try this in Photoshop to see whether the sky replacement is better than in Lightroom?
No, I did not do it in Photoshop. I don't know if you can do a sky replacement on this or not. In Lightroom, I think all you can do in Lightroom is adjust the color, right? Or adjust the exposure.
No, you can, if you look about halfway down, you'll see that there is a, right above, right there, just above. Yeah, see where the two lines are with the colors in them? Just above that, you'll have your blue, and you have your tint and your color. You'll have your temperature and your tint. And so there's a certain amount of change that you can make to that.
Okay, but you can't import a different sky to this. That's what I thought.
We're talking two different things. I thought we're still just talking about what you've done here.
Okay.
That once you've done it, yeah.
I was reacting to Bob's question. I thought Bob's question was about sky replacement.
I jumped in. I didn't do that.
Okay.
No, just what you have here. You still in Lightroom have the ability to make some cooling or warming adjustments to that sky.
Yeah.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, but
exaggerate, make it look absolutely terrible. There you go.
You can't do a complete change of sky in Lightroom. No. I mean, you may be able to, I don't know, but it's not easy as
No.
in Photoshop of doing a replacement or in Luminar or something like that, where you go, oh, I want clouds in here, and it adds them in for you.
Right.
The other thing is you have to be sure that you've only gotten your sky selection, because if you try to do that and there are any other similar colors elsewhere in the picture, that they could show up if you don't have it just totally isolated to your sky.
Yeah.
Well, this is a good picture to do it because it's pretty much greens and bronze and grays except for the sky. So this would be a good one. But you're right, Rex. You start photographing flowers with a lot of different colors in it, you get yourself into trouble.
Mhm.
Okay, that's all I had on that. I just thought it was a nice technique to show. It's certainly easy to do, and it's really helpful to kind of select that color range. Okay, the next thing I have is this short video. Do I need to share the video in some way for this?
The audio might not come through if you didn't include that when you.
I don't think I did. So should I reshare?
Yeah, I would end your share, Rob. And then when you go to share your screen, at the bottom of that pop-up that comes up, there's two things to click on. One is video sound, and the other one's video optimization or something like that.
Okay, share sound. There it is. Optimized for video clip.
There you go.
Okay. Uh-oh. It's asking me to share my computer audio, install the Zoom audio device. I have no idea what that is.
Share your computer audio.
Yeah, let me see if this will work. This is my password here.
You're back.
Okay, can you still hear me?
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, I think we're good then. Okay, let me share this video with you. This is the one I talked about where the woman's talking about how to set those buttons on the back of a Canon camera. Hopefully there's some analogous stuff for the Nikon users. But I thought it was interesting because she also walks through what some of those focus techniques can do for you. So here it is.
Where it needs to be. So another setting that has changed drastically since transitioning from my Mark IV, and even since the beginning of using my R6 for the first few months, I use servo, which is continual focusing, way more than one-shot mode. It just blows my mind because that's a complete opposite shift from what I originally did with my DSLR. When I was shooting with my Mark IV, I was finding the focus first, like I was finding where I needed to focus and then recomposing to get my composition. And now with the R6, I find my composition first and then I move my focus point to it. So I'm thinking to myself, if I have the AF point set on my subject exactly where I want, then why would I not use servo mode to where if the subject leaned forward a little bit or like laughed and leaned back, it's tracking wherever the AF point is, and it gives me just a little extra confidence that I'm going to lock in my focus. Whereas before, I couldn't even use servo if I wanted to because of my need to focus and recompose. So another option that's amazing with the R6, but I actually like kind of I dug in my heels a little bit when I first got this camera and I said like, I'm not a fan, is eye tracking. Why did I not like eye tracking? Well, I used it for a processional at a wedding and it started tracking people in like the audience and not just the bridesmaid walking down the aisle. And I quickly like, oh my gosh, like I felt out of control. So I didn't like it. I kind of like poo-pooed on the whole idea. I'm like, nope, don't like it. But I have since found that there's a way for me to use that cool feature and that super accurate feature that could come in handy for me. There's a way for me to do it without being married to it. So what I didn't love is that it was such a commitment for me to go to the back of my screen and change my entire focus mode to eye tracking away from, like touch and drag. I didn't like that because it felt like a big commitment. Now I found a way to use it when I need it, but not be married to it. On the back of my camera, there are 3 buttons that we have customized to fit my needs, and it's wonderful. The AF on button is basically set to the default setting. All I have to do is put my thumb and press AF on. That's what that setting is for that button. And basically all that's doing is engaging the autofocus on the back with my thumb instead of with my pointer finger on the shutter, pressing it halfway down and then all the way to take the photo. So that's the only difference in those 2 things. The other two buttons on the back, there's kind of like a star button, a snowflake looking button on the back, and that we have customized to be able to engage eye tracking whenever I want it. What this means is when I hold this button down, I'm holding it down, it's engaging eye tracking, and so eye tracking is happening as I'm holding it down, and the minute that I let go of it, it goes back to my normal focus settings. Okay, so the other button that looks more like the grid button, it is more of a toggle setting. So basically I press it and it goes to servo, press it again, it goes to one shot. So I'm saving myself going back to the menu and making those changes. I quite honestly don't switch back and forth from servo to one shot very often, but when I need to do it, it's right there with one just hit of a button instead of going back into the menu and making those changes. It's not a big deal to go to the menu, but these little tweaks make it a lot more user-friendly when I'm in the midst of shooting something professionally and I don't want to think about all those different steps. I love this because it's quick and it's easy and it's in the row of these three buttons. There's so much that I'm controlling now with the customization of these three buttons. A lot of people ask me if I use a cluster of AF points or just one AF point. I just use one, and I use the smallest one possible because that is going to allow me to be as specific as possible. Some people don't like that the AF point on the R6 isn't as small to them as it was on the Mark IV. That honestly, this is so accurate at focus, I don't really have a complaint about that at all. I haven't seen that really burn me. So another cool setting that I like to use is a setting called Orientation Linked AF Point, which basically allows my AF point to switch orientation whenever I switch orientation of my camera. So it may be dead center shooting horizontally, and then if I shoot to a vertical shot, it automatically puts the AF point closer to the top of my frame because normally I'm shooting people and that helps me get it really close to the eyes. So this setting is nice because in general, when you switch from horizontal to portrait mode, it gives you a head start of where AF point is probably going to want to be instead of it staying in the same place and you have to drag it all the way up. First world problem, you have to drag it all the way up with your thumb, but honestly, it does save time. Just know, this took me a while, right? I'm not giving you this video 2 months after having my R6. I've had it for over 1.5 years. I am just now telling you that I feel like I have found my thing. So if you're like, oh gosh, I got the R6, you said it would be great and like it's overwhelming me, that's okay. Give it some time. Don't try to change everything at once, but just know once you get into the rhythm, you're gonna love it and it's gonna feel like home to you. Do not write things off completely. I remember people saying like, oh, the eye tracking, and I was like, oh yeah, I don't like it. And now look at me, I'm like, I figured out a way to like it that works for me. So don't write off things completely. Definitely don't write off an R6 completely just because it may seem a little overwhelming at first. This is an amazing camera. I'm thrilled with it. And the more that I learn about it and the more that I try new things, the more I fall in love with this camera overall. Okay, if you enjoyed this, we have a ton of other R6 videos actually in a playlist. You can watch those, like and subscribe so that you can see more content from us and we can help.
I thought that was interesting, and I also wanted to play it because that's truly somebody that talks faster than me. So I figured I would sound more normal after watching that video. Hope you find that useful. I programmed my buttons to do that, and I love it too, just like she did. I think it's very helpful because I was, like I said, I was really fumbling through those menus, and it was driving me crazy. So that was a big help.
Hey Rob, can you drop a link to that in the chat?
Yeah, I can. Let me do it after I'm done here. I'll drop all the links for all the videos I'm going to show after that. Okay. Well, let's move on. There's no questions. We've got Annie Leibovitz is who I'm going to talk about tonight. I'm sure you all have heard of her, know about her. She's known primarily as a celebrity portrait photographer. She is, largely regarded as probably the most influential photographer of our time. And I think that's what attracted me to her because her pictures are unique and they're really different. There's no real style to it. I think if you look at pictures like Ansel Adams, for instance, who's obviously fantastic, his pictures all have the same feel to it, where Annie's really don't. I mean, there's a lot of different pictures out there. And I think that's very interesting. I kind of looked at her more as somebody who's more experimental, where Ansel Adams was trying to perfect one area. And of course, he did that in to the 10th degree. So, but she's an interesting one from the standpoint of how she looked at. She's also interesting from the standpoint of the different cameras she's used. These are some of the ones that I found that she had an affinity for. I think what's interesting is there's really not one brand there that she had allegiance to, which means she's not overly equipment oriented. She's more artistic oriented. And you can also see about midway down, she starts shifting from the film-based cameras to the digital formats going forward. So she obviously was willing to switch and move with the times pretty quickly. Just a little background before I get into some of the pictures. She was born in 1949. She really got her start taking pictures when her father, who was in the Air Force, was stationed in the Philippines, and she was there, I guess, with less to do, away from her friends, and began shooting pictures as a way to pass the time. She really liked it, and then she was always an artistic person at heart. So she had attended the San Francisco Art Institute with plans to become an art teacher. And while there, she attended a photography workshop and really found her calling, and never considered being an art teacher after that. Just certainly went full bore into photography from there. From a career standpoint, she started out in 1970, right after she graduated, at Rolling Stone as a staff photographer. She progressed very quickly and became a chief photographer in 1973. And really her portrait style and whole intimacy of her portraits really defined the Rolling Stone look. On the cover of the Rolling Stone was even a line from a famous song, because people understood that meant something, not only from the standpoint of arriving such that you were recognized by your peers, but also from the standpoint that somebody took time to take such an intimate portrait of you. And I think those two things were very critical to the legend of Annie Leibovitz. In 83 to 2000, she jumped over to Vanity Fair. Along the way, she won a Clio Award for American Express charge card photos. In 1991, she became the second living portrait artist and the first woman so honored by the National Portrait Gallery in an exhibition. So, and then, she began regular work in 98 for Vogue magazine. And since 2000, she's had such a reputation. She's just been freelancing shoots for different opportunities and moving where the work takes her.
Hey, Rob, can I ask a question?
Yeah.
So becoming the staff photographer for Rolling Stone was kind of, it seems like, led to her career, if you will. Was there anything that, like, how did she get that particular job? You happen to know?
Actually, I didn't research that deeply. I'm not quite sure how she got it. I'm sure I have no idea, Jim. I can't answer that.
Okay, just curious.
Yeah. What I want to do next is I want to look through a couple photos, pick 5 photos out that she took and talk about them a little bit. These are 5 of her famous photos. There's many others, of course, but I picked these 5 because I thought they had something to say. I like them personally. And then after we do this, I've got 3 videos to share on Annie. One is a nice video with a person critiquing her work and going over, and it's about 10 minutes. And then there's a very interesting one of a 10-minute shoot of her doing a shoot, which I think is very interesting. And then lastly, there's a 2-minute summary of her talking about her work. It's actually a promo for her photography class, but it does a nice summary job of how she views photography. And I think it's worth listening to. So those are kind of the 3 videos that are coming. But before we get there, let's look at some of these pictures. The first one is probably her best known photo. This is of John and Yoko. I'm sure you've seen it. What I find interesting about it was taken 5 hours before John Lennon was assassinated. I mean, think about that. It just boggles my mind. It was shot with a Polaroid camera too. I mean, she showed up there trying to take a picture of John Lennon by himself. Lennon insisted that Yoko Ono be in the picture, and she immediately and mentally went to the image of John Lennon and Yoko on the Double Fantasy album cover where he's kissing her. I don't know if they're kissing or not, but she wanted to kind of duplicate that or do something off it. And Lennon didn't want to do that. He wanted to do something outrageous or something bold. He suggested a nude picture, and she went off of that and decided just to have John being nude and showing him kind of vulnerable next to Yoko. And, and in reality, this photo, not only for its unique value and critical value, it's really almost sadly a kiss goodbye in a lot of ways. So I think it really captured their relationship, and it also captured kind of epitomized how things turned out for them, which is tragic. So any other comments or? Okay. This is one here. this was a picture she took for Vanity Fair. It's Demi Moore when she was obviously pregnant, I believe, with her first child with Bruce Willis. Annie was asked to conceal the pregnancy and just take a picture of Demi Moore, who obviously was a very, very hot star at the time. Instead, she went on and produced one of the most controversial magazines in history. I think at the end of the day, it was more provocative than artistic. And, what I found interesting about it was the picture at the time, I remember shocking me. I didn't think of it as being anything great, just a shocking picture. And I think if you look back on it, and she has too, she has this quote that I found from 2012, which I thought was very insightful. She said it was a popular picture and it broke ground, but I don't think it's a good photograph per se. If it were a great portrait, she wouldn't be covering her breast. She wouldn't necessarily be looking at the camera. So I think what Annie Leibovitz is saying here is, I could have done more if I didn't have some parameters such as, you can't put nudity on the cover of a magazine, for instance. So she obviously had to work around that. But she also knew what she took, and she knew it was certainly more of a provocative than a top level artsy photo. The next one is she had a photo shoot with Queen Elizabeth, I believe in 2007. And she was the really first American to produce an official portrait of the Queen. What's interesting about it is there's even a video on this that I almost showed, but I decided against it, where the Queen comes out with a tiara and she asks the Queen to take the tiara off. And the Queen isn't particularly happy with her for asking that, but she does take it off. And I think that's interesting because it really shows the kind of reputation that she had, where the Queen, even though she wasn't happy with the request, because in her mind, nobody tells the Queen what to do, but she did acquiesce and do it. And she did a full shoot. And this is one of the pictures from that shoot.
Rob, I've never seen this one, but I think it's remarkable. Obviously, the story about the tiara, but just the fact of where the Queen is, it's in a park somewhere. It could be on her grounds.
Right.
But the moodiness of the background for a photo of the Queen, it's amazing, I think.
Yeah, it does a different mode. She also had the Queen dressed down a little bit. And it was part of the thing was, don't wear your formal regalia, wear something that's a little less important. And the Queen came out with, that's why the Queen had a tiara on and not the crown. She thought that was informal. And Annie asked her to take the tiara off because she wanted to go another level of informality in her mind. But the Queen was like, this is as informal as I get. I am the Queen. But she still did it. And I think this shows her, this really humanizes her. She looks regal in a way, but she doesn't look like she's unapproachable. And I think that's why I like this photo. Okay. The next one I have, I'm a big Fleetwood Mac fan, so I had to have this one on. This was a photo she took for a 1977 Rolling Stone photo cover. And the title of the story was called True Life Confessions. What I like about it is if you're a Fleetwood Mac fan at all, Fleetwood Mac was 5 members. It was Stevie Nicks and Lindsey Buckingham, who were a couple. It was John McVie and Christine McVie, who were husband and wife. And it was Mick Fleetwood. And if you think about it, they had a lot of internal strife, as you can imagine, with 2 couples and one person that's the odd man out. And this arrangement really shows, you got 2 couples in relative close proximity, but they're head to toe, so they're not seeing eye to eye. And then you've got Mick Fleetwood on the right side, which is really the odd man out and kind of ostracized a bit. And I think this picture, more than anything, really epitomizes the relationship of Fleetwood Mac. They were all together when they were producing music, but as a functional human group of people, they were a bit dysfunctional. And you can even hear it in their album if you ever listen to Rumors, which is one of my favorite albums. But if you listen to Rumors closely, a lot of those songs are about strife and things going awry. And I think that was born out of this quasi-contentious relationship between the band members. And it kind of led up, it should be led up, not lead up, sorry about that, led up to the band split in the 1980s. But I had to put that one in being a Fleetwood Mac fan and all.
Before I got a quip here, before you carry on, I wanted to backtrack to the Queen and her tiara. reminded me of the portrait photographer Joseph Karsh, who plucked the cigar out of Churchill's mouth to get that expression that he had. So talk about the kind of things that photographers do. Nothing I would ever do, but it is interesting. I don't know if you look up Joseph Karsh, he's popular. Well, he was a very, very good photographer for many reasons, but one of the things that stands out in his story, his life story, is that he was the guy that plucked the cigar out of Churchill's mouth, the guy that helped win World War II.
Yeah,
Just a
famous for
thought.
chomping on the cigar, no less.
Yeah. Well, he wasn't getting the expression he wanted.
Right.
And Joseph wasn't getting the expression he wanted from Churchill. So he plucked that cigar and there it was.
The Churchill's one of the true great leaders of the 20th century and one of the true characters as well. So. Okay. Now, the last picture I picked is this one of Arnold Schwarzenegger. And the reason I picked it was, this is the testimony to the conversation we've had many times about never deleting a picture. Annie Leibovitz was asked to photograph Arnold for a 1990 Vanity Fair cover, which she did. The picture, didn't pull that, but this picture was an outtake, really. And it was just sitting in Vanity Fair's files. And when in 2003, Arnold became much more of a player. That's when Arnold became governor of California. He had, some of his movies were top box office attractions. He was at the peak of his career, the pinnacle, if you will. And they pulled this picture because it really shows Arnold being very confident in himself, right? Confident and strong, sitting on a white horse, which is his horse, by the way, as well as chomping on a cigar and really not worrying about anything in the world, just sitting on top of the world. And I thought it was interesting, not only because I like the picture, but also because it was an outtake that didn't quite make the cut in 1990, but really summarized what they wanted to tell about the man in 2003. So. Okay. Now we're going to head to the videos. The first one, as I mentioned, is a third-party review of Annie Leibovitz's photographs and career. He does a very good job of trying to describing some of them, and some of the pictures that he'll talk about are ones I've already talked about, but the different perspectives is kind of nice. And also what he's trying to do is to get people interested in photography and understand why this is such an interesting hobby. And I think it's really a good one to look at. So here it is.
Annie Leibovitz is possibly one of the most influential and famous photographers working in the modern era. Throughout the course of her career, she has photographed rock stars, film icons, politicians, and royalty, and has in the process created some of the most iconic images of our time. Despite being known primarily as a celebrity portrait photographer, throughout the course of Annie's career, she has evolved from being a documentary style photographer through to the iconic sort of theatrical and conceptual staging that we are so familiar with today. Now in her 70s, she has been quite rightly awarded living legend status by the National Library of Congress in America. Hi there, my name is Alex and I'm your host here at The Photographic Eye. Come with me today as we explore the life and photography of Annie Leibovitz. No discussion of Annie Leibovitz's work is complete without discussing possibly her most famous photograph, and that of course is the image of John Lennon caressing Yoko Ono, which graced the cover of Rolling Stone magazine in January 1981. Annie had photographed John Lennon a couple of times for Rolling Stone magazine, and for this particular photo shoot she'd thought again about photographing John just as a simple standalone portrait. And when she arrived at the Dakota building in New York, John was there with Yoko Ono. He then sort of suggested, or as he was quite forthright in his insistence that Yoko was going to be in the photograph with him. This of course threw Annie for a bit of a loop because she hadn't really planned on doing a portrait of the two of them together. But she drew from her influences and remembered the the cover of John and Yoko's double fantasy album where the two of them are kissing, along with the image on the Two Virgins cover where the two of them are displayed naked. John was quite happy to go along with this idea, and Yoko was sort of less enthusiastic and said that she would remain clothed throughout the session. And Annie produced a series of Polaroids, which obviously ended up with the now iconic image. When John saw that image, he has allegedly said to Annie that photograph encapsulated him and Yoko's relationship. Feeling quite good about the session, as you would if John Lennon had given you such praise, Annie arranged to meet the two of them later on that evening to do some more photographs in the studio. Of course, it was while she was waiting at the studio that John Lennon was unfortunately shot by Mark Chapman and rushed to hospital. And then, of course, subsequently he died from his injuries. Annie herself has said that this event was a good example of how a photograph can take on a life of its own, and that all of a sudden the circumstances around that portrait elevated it into something different and gave it a story and a depth that she couldn't do herself. Over the years, that photo has become absolutely iconic, and recently it was voted as one of the top 40 magazine covers of all time. People today are most familiar with Annie's work in Vanity Fair and through various advertising campaigns such as the one she did for M&S. The evolution of Annie's photography actually starts way back in 1967 when she moved to San Francisco from Silver Spring in Maryland. It was there that she wanted to sort of study painting with a view to becoming an art teacher. When she visited her parents in the Philippines one vacation, her mum took her off to Japan where she bought her first camera, and it was then that she sort of started to explore what photography could offer her. When Annie got back to San Francisco, she decided to take a photography workshop that was being offered at the Art Institute, and it was there, after a couple of weeks of this, she decided to change her majors and study photography. The photography school at the time was using the work of Robert Frank and Henry Cartier-Bresson, two world-famous documentary photographers, to shape and influence the way that they were teaching their students, and this immediately got Annie sort of invigorated and impassioned by the art of photography. Having put together a body of work, Annie was encouraged by a boyfriend of hers who worked for Time magazine to go and show her prints to Jan Wenner, who was the founder of the counterculture magazine Rolling Stone. Annie was a little bit reticent to do this, so eventually she plucked up the courage and went to go and see Jan, and he was really impressed by her photography and decided to take her on as a staff photographer. And the next week, Annie was walking down the street and imagine to her surprise that she saw her image on the cover of Rolling Stone for that issue. And of course, this was going to be the first of many, many, many covers for her. And this was probably the birth of Annie Leibovitz, the photographer with a capital P. In 1975, Annie was asked by Mick Jagger to cover their Rolling Stone North American tour. He'd said that he was looking for Annie to be something of a Henry Cartier-Bresson for them, although she wasn't quite sure at the time what he really sort of meant. Somewhat naively, the young Annie decided that this tour would be an ideal time not only to get some fantastic pictures of the whole tour itself, but also to get some much needed tennis practice in. So when she met up with the Stones in New York, she brought her tennis racket along with a view to doing some tennis practice during the day. That first day on tour with the Stones would be the last daylight hours that she saw for quite some time. Because of her background in documentary and how she'd been taught to photograph, Annie decided to become almost chameleon-like, to blend into the background and try and become part of the band. As Robert Capa had said, if your photographs are not good enough, then you're not close enough. And I think in this case, Annie, in retrospect, realized that this is probably the wrong time to be as close as she was to her subjects. You know, she remarked later on that the whole experience was extreme with a capital E. Because of her proximity to the Rolling Stones, this also lent her a certain gravitas and power within this kind of world of the rock concert. And it was here that she started to develop quite a serious coke habit, which in later years would be quite detrimental, certainly to her time at Rolling Stone. One of the things I absolutely love about Annie Leibovitz is that her work has continued to evolve and grow throughout the course of her career. A lot of her current work, certainly from the last sort of 10 to 15 years, has a sort of theatrical and conceptual quality to it. And this is hardly unsurprising, given that her mother was a modern dance instructor, and a passion for the arts has always run quite deep within Annie and her family. Another influence that you can sort of see coming through this is, given Annie's formal training background as a painter, that a lot of her compositions of late have an almost sort of painterly quality to them, and sort of reminiscent of people always as far back as Rembrandt, and in a more modern sense, somebody like John Singer Sargent, and that really sort of has helped, certainly for me, give her group images and group portraits far more gravitas and interest when looking at them. Annie Leibovitz continues to be a hugely influential photographer to this day, and this is hardly surprising. She's cited the fact that the camera is simply a tool, and that what she relies on most heavily is this almost visual library within her head from which she can draw inspiration. This is a really important point that needs to be stressed, is that these photographers who are recognized as the greats, it's very rare that they just create images fully formed from nothing. They all of them draw their inspiration from others, and if there's one thing that we can all do to improve both our own photography and our enjoyment of photography, and that is to look at as many photographs as we possibly can. And Annie is a hugely good example of doing this and how beneficial it can be. Aside from Annie's work improving visually, or I say improving, but molding and changing visually, her work has also changed emotionally, and this is hugely in part to her relationship with Susan Sontag. For those of you who don't know, Susan Sontag was an extremely well-respected critic of photography in the media, and Annie had met her while creating some promotional images for her in the late 80s. While the two of them never officially sort of said that they were a couple, they were extremely close to one another and did share apartments within the same area in New York, so they could always sort of be near each other. Through their mutual connections, Annie was introduced to the world of sort of intellectuals and literary people in a way that she wasn't from her work at Rolling Stone and Vanity Fair. And because of these connections, Annie was then able to have a solo exhibition at the National Portrait Gallery in Washington. And this was only the second time in the history of the gallery that a solo exhibition had been given over to a living photographer. The exhibition was on for 5 weeks, and within that 5-week period, there were more visitors to the gallery than they would normally expect in an entire year. And if confirmation was needed of Annie's establishment as a profoundly influential photographer, this certainly was it. Annie and Susan remained close until Susan's death from cancer in 2004. And throughout Susan's illness, Annie continued to take photographs and document the whole process. And I'm reminded of something that Richard Avedon once said, where he said that he only takes photographs of things that he's afraid of. And I often wonder, when I look at great photographers who document really trying emotional times in their lives, that this isn't a way somehow of shielding themselves emotionally from what is actually going on around them. That was a brief insight into the life and work of Annie Leibovitz, and I really hope that you enjoyed it. What's your favorite style of Annie's photography? Are you more into her sort of celebrity portraits from the 80s, possibly more the classic work that she was doing at the early days of Rolling Stone, or the more contemporary photography that she's been producing? If you'd like to see more of these videos, please do subscribe to the channel. I'd really appreciate it, and it'd be fantastic to share some of these amazing photographers with you in the future. Thanks ever so much once again.
I like that video. I think he does a real nice job going through some of the pictures and kind of the essence of what makes her so popular and what made her stand out from the crowd. The next video is a behind the scenes one. It goes a little, it runs about 10 minutes, but what I find interesting about this is she shows up and she's a lot more focused on the art of the photo than she is on the equipment. You hear her talk in the beginning about, 1 of 2 lenses to use, that kind of thing. But she really takes control of the shoot when she's talking about positioning people. And I think if you look at the shot, you can't figure out what she's doing. I can't see it. And at the end, they showed the picture. And I think it's interesting to see the build up to it and what she did with what she had and the picture she ended up with. So here's the video.
That sky right now. I like that the sun trying to get through there. Shoot straight out as if the boardwalk was there. Just suffice to say, it's going to be the boardwalk or these two dunes here.
Rob, is that as large as you can get the picture? You can
Right
click it up.
there.
Sorry about that. I'm asleep at the switch. There we go.
What do you have, a 50?
That's a 50, yeah.
And you have a 35 too? Let me take a look at both of those for the wing shot, and then we might do them in a little longer shot, like the.
We got all the 28.
35 is going to be too short for what I need to do. I have to make the wings really feel big. Yeah, 28.
I'll feel you on then.
Let's try the 28. Well, have the Nikon ready because I'm just going to begin with, I'm going to try a bunch of things.
Yeah.
Hi.
And he says it's from the National Theater.
Brilliant.
So we're going to go into sort of a heightened wing position first. Okay, and not come back a little bit. Come back. Oh yeah, turn back a little bit this way. Great. That's number one, and number two is the same one because the wind's pushing that back. And number three, they come in tighter. They fold in. That's great. Okay, now, Amanda, go off the boardwalk. Okay, just keep your feet like that. Stay there, Amanda. It's great. Okay, hold on. I was gonna have you go in action and walk off. Let me just see. Go. And step off. Step off. Okay, hold on. I love that. You were so good. That was so good. Go, 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 go. Fury! Fury! Go. Okay, stop. Yeah, let me get 35. I mean, everyone else is pretty passive. Yeah. So it really, you know, everything, all their anger is in you. Amanda, can you turn more to the side for us? I mean, yeah, that to your right. Yes. Okay, and then bring your upper body back. No. Okay, try something with your feet. Let's see. Bring your left foot forward. Your left. Yes. Okay. Let me just see. Yes. Yes. Exactly there. Okay. Okay. Hold on, Jason. You got to be higher. Higher.
Jason, higher.
Higher, Jason. Okay, relax. Just so you see your performance anyway. So that...
That's glorious, honey.
Okay, we're trying on the hill. Very same thing up there, okay? Okay, now take a little out of that strobe. Up higher. Wings up higher. Amanda, that feeling of being on edge again, that you're just about ready to teeter the other way though, strangely enough. Like the same, yeah. Yes! Here we go! Okay, and let's go in. Great. And just go as dark as we can with just some sculpting style light, okay? Nathan, turn around as if you're coming down the hill. It's cool. And Andrew, go back to where you were. Okay, Mary, I need to move Nathan down like one apple box. It doesn't look like what it looks like because everything is a lot darkened, and you become these shapes. It looks kind of amazing, actually, if I must say so much. It does. It looks cool. Lee, if you want to look out to sea there, that's great. And Denise, what you're doing is perfect. And Andrew, if you want to go straight out, okay. Okay, Lee, I need you just off camera a little bit more. Yeah, that's good. But head down a little bit. Yeah. That's great. Denise. Wow, nice. That was great. So you're right here where Marco is. Okay, hold on, Andrew. Before you had it a little bit more puffed up here, was that? Or is that how you?
Yeah. That too.
Two? I don't know. Let me step you in a little bit, Lee. Okay, hold on. Because what we will do at a certain point is we will take a step, but not yet. And Denise, let me bring you over here. Come here. Take the coat and hold it like this. Yeah. As soon as I get you just where you are, I may actually have you take a step, you know, so as if you're actually... Denise, you might stay put, though. You'll stay put. So Nathan, come up to where he is. So you're Roy Cohen. Would he fold his arms like that? Yeah.
Sure.
So look back to me towards the camera. Take one step back as if you just came from somewhere a little bit. Yes. Okay, that's good. And come back. Yeah, that's great. That's great. That's great. Okay. I need more power on you. Hold on, guys. It's not uninteresting. It's backlit, so it's pretty good. We're still gonna work with this light. Okay. Hold on. Go ahead and roll up your sleeves. I don't know. It's just those like one of those Bobby Kennedy things.
Oh, Bobby Kennedy. Yeah.
Yeah, right. No, but I mean, it was the way Avedon, like, you know, took pictures of politicians and lawyers, you know,
Right.
like they were working.
Right.
Okay, that's good.
Yeah, that's good. But
So Nathan, turn a little more this way. Oh, no, come back. Come back to me. Go straight into me. There we go. Yeah, like a straight in, yeah. Yes. Okay. Now with that look, you got the angels right. There are angels right on your back. Okay. Go ahead and take the step forward. Okay. Nathan, try look at your right. Okay, that's great. That's fucking great. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thanks for having us.
No, thank you. Your ears are cold. Ooh.
So good.
Okay,
Thanks.
stay warm. Thank you very, very much.
You're welcome.
And that's great. That's great. So important you're here. Okay, thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you. And your ears are cold. Ooh. Lee, good luck with everything. We can see the show.
There's the picture at the end. I just think it's an incredible picture, and I just really see how she had the vision for it. And I just wasn't seeing it till the end, quite frankly. So I thought that was an interesting video. It's a little long, but I liked it. So
Rob, is it true that they use Luminar Neo to replace the sky?
I don't know. They may well have. Okay, the last one I have is really a short one. It's only a little over 2 minutes, almost 3 minutes. It's Annie Leibovitz kind of hawking her master class, but it's a nice summary of how she views photography, and I think it's kind of fun. So let me play that, and then I'll have a few summary comments, and we'll call it a day. Here we go.
There's this idea that in portraiture, it's the photographer's job to set the subject at ease. I don't believe that. Robert Penn Warren was writing about dying and death, and I just asked him to take his shirt off, but it was more like I wanted to see his skeleton. He didn't have any guard or shield. One of my favorite photographs, Agnes Martin sitting in her painting studio. She said to me, I sit here and I wait to be inspired. I love that. And so I said, would you just sit there? Isn't that what we all do? We wait to be inspired. All the work that I've ever done, the ideas emanate from that person. Stand over here, present yourself. We're so complicated as human beings. There's so many parts to us. That's where the ideas come from. Even in the most set up situation, I believe there's something real going on. I'm so not a technical photographer. What camera are you using? If that's what you're thinking about, you're not taking pictures. Oh my God, Alice, it's so beautiful. When you first start off, stay with one lens and see what it does. You may want to open up, have more latitude, so when you go back, you can actually bring it back down and go dark. I'm constantly trying to emulate natural light. Where's the light coming from? She should fall into that tree. Actually, I love that. Photograph the people close to you, your family, your friends. That's how I learned. When you photograph people, it's about history. It's about looking at our time and our culture and our society through portraits. You never stop seeing. You're seeing all the time. Don't be afraid to be obsessed. Take the camera, go out in the world, find a way to tell a story that means something to you. I'm Annie Leibovitz, and this is my masterclass.
There you have it. She jumps around to a lot of different subjects there, but I thought it was kind of a nice summary. So let's kind of bring this, we talked a lot about our pictures, our history and all. Let's kind of bring it back to what kind of my takeaways were and some of the tidbits I picked up from researching her and watching all these videos and looking at the pictures and stuff. Now, she really preaches love the subject. She's talking about really developing an intimate relationship with the subjects so you can find out what's the best way to present them. She talked about technical photography a little bit. She's not a technical photographer. She said that a few times in the different things I saw. But, you know, it is important, but it's really not the essence of the shot. And you even saw that in the sand dune video shot where she says, I don't know, maybe the 30, maybe the 40, we'll try both, see what happens. So she was more focused on where people were standing and what they were going to do and what her vision of the final picture was than the actual lens that she was going to use. And I found that kind of interesting that she felt that was less important than getting everything else set up properly. She likes to really show the subject in an element that defines them, which she thinks is very important. And she talks about that. All the pictures she shows, she does something with the subject that puts them in some view or some perspective that gives you an idea of what defines them as a person and what they're known for. What I really liked about her photos, if you look at it over time, is as you appear them, and I said this at the outset, there is no real Annie Leibovitz style. It's an innovative and unique approach to every subject. Therefore, her pictures don't look the same. They're not all black and white. They're not all color. They're not all sharp color. Some are faded color. They're very different because she adjusts the picture and the technique to fit the mode and the subject, which is an interesting way to do it. She always has to have those bold requests of the subject to fit the vision too, which I think is, we talked about that earlier with removing the tiara from the queen and things of that sort. She's always ready to make a request of a subject to do something that may be out of character for them, but really epitomizes what they're all about. And lastly, she said, use the camera to tell your story. I kind of love that line. I look at it as, what are you trying to accomplish when you have a camera in your hand? You're trying to take pictures, or you're trying to tell a story? The answer should be, you should try to tell a story, and you should figure out what that story is, so your pictures and your plans kind of build up to that at the end of the day. So I want to thank you for your attention. I hope you enjoyed it. I know I enjoyed researching it, because she certainly was a fascinating character.
Thank you, Rob.
An awful lot of a lot of photos to choose from. So
yeah, very good, Rob. Very nice. Very extensive.
Rob.
Very nice.
And even though her style changes, if I see a photo either in a magazine or on a cover or something, I can usually say, yep, that's a Leibovitz shot. Like there's something still about hers that I spot them.
maybe you're able to see a darker meaning than I am, deeper meaning.
Now, it's just something about the style, like it. I mean, they're usually a little more on the out there side anyway, which is probably part of it, but I don't know. I can usually, not always, but I can usually spot hers.
I just looked up the cameras that she was using there. They were 3 Hasselblads digital H6Ds. I put it in the chat. $32,995 for each body. That's not the less.
Yeah.
Oh, what fun. Although I understand what you were saying about it's not the camera. Oh, what you would have to do to have the camera to do that kind of thing. Anyway, just for a little contrast, that was the kind of equipment that she was using. Now, I'm sure when she started, that's not what she was using. I've had a couple of Hasselblads, and they were probably $900 to $1,000. Now, these were film Hasselblads with roll film backs and just a top level finder and an 80 millimeter normal lens that had the capability of the back being removed and a Polaroid back being put on, because this was the kind of thing that you best do before you start taking a series of photographs. And it was a lot slower than she was working. FYI.
I had a Bronica Square with the film backs that I shoot weddings with.
Uh-huh.
I shot 200 pictures a wedding. I was good.
Yeah, and there was no autofocus going
No
on there.
autofocus. The thing
No.
didn't have a light meter, no battery, nothing.
One of the techniques, if you wanted to get after the bride and groom were married and they were walking down the aisle, what we used to do is we used what we call hyperfocal distance. And in other words, we set an area that we said, this is where we're going to take the picture when they get there. And as they came through, when they got to that point, we took the shot and hoped.
Yep.
That you had the picture.
I don't miss that.
Enough said. That was nice, Rob. Really, really, the whole presentation is excellent. Wow, I don't think I could make a presentation that's smooth and as neatly put together as you did, and cover the subjects that you covered, and it was a lot.
Well, thank you very much. I greatly appreciate that.
You earned it. You earned it.
Yep, good job.
Well done.
This is the second one of these that Rob's done, and he's done an excellent job on both. I
Every
think maybe
time.
we'll ask him to do another one for next year. Start putting that seed in his mind now. He can start thinking about who he's going to do for next year.
Okay, fair enough.
All right, thank you, Rob. Really good.
It was really thoughtful.
All right, guys. We got about 9 or 8 minutes left. I don't think that's enough time to really get into a critique. If you guys agree, I think that's probably it. Is there any last minute things anyone wants to say? All right. We're gonna go ahead and just call the meeting this evening. But I would like to have my officers and Rebecca please stay.
Okay.
You guys can all say,
It's like
"Oh,
being
Rebecca's
held-
in trouble."
It's like being held after school, Rebecca.
Nice knowing you guys. Getting kicked out.
being held by the principal. All right, guys. Hey, thank you very much. Great, great meeting. Thank you all, and we'll see you guys very shortly at the next meeting or outing or something.
Good night, everybody.
Bye.
Good night, guys.
Annie, do you know to stay on?
Good night. Bye-bye.
All right. Looks like we got Carl's here. We got everyone here. Yep. Okay.
Okay.
All right. So the reason for the officers meeting is that Jim, go ahead and tell us.
Well, I'm a firm believer that if someone comes up to me and says, I think we should do this, or I would like to do that, to take advantage of that opportunity. And I'm sure Rebecca